I Yeah, like it's not even just a network of people, but I've actually made some of my now best friends just because of this, because of touching base with someone else. Hey, I get how you're feeling. I'm feeling the same way, kind of a thing. And it helps so much having people who can relate, because not that people in a traditional career can't relate to anything, but it's a very different set of challenges that we face as small business owners. And I think being able to chat about it with people who are also open and honest about what's hard and what's not so great about it, and which days are the most difficult, that's helped me so much.
Yeah, definitely. It really has been a lifeline, and I'm so glad it's there. And like you said, the business like to Scotland, which is like where we met, it's kind of given me a bit of a kick up the bum, to go on with stuff, because I was getting into one of those, oh my God, COVID has destroyed my business slumps, and even just, sometimes when when there's stuff on there that doesn't necessarily relate to my business, but it's just seeing other people just kind of, jump in and be enthusiastic about certain things. It just gives you a wee bit of a refresh, and a wee idea might kind of spark from that. So yeah, that's been really fab. I'm really glad that, I kind of joined that. It's made a difference already,
Well, and that's something for, I guess, anybody out there who's maybe a little bit worried about leaving their job. As you said, you were in large part due to this idea of going from having that team or community support network around you to being on your own. That's a good way. I mean, I think in Scotland, the small business community is so supportive of each other. I mean, it's very welcoming. Nobody's going to go, oh, you're starting a business in my industry, you're competition. I think for the most part, there might be the occasional person who is like that, but most people are very much community over competition. There's enough work for everyone, and happy to have you as part of the group. And I think it's a really great place to start a small business.
No, absolutely. I mean, like you said, I initially thought, it's, especially with kind of millinery and stuff, because it's quite a kind of small niche, industry to be in, and there's not a massive customer base for it, for everybody. And I had thought, oh my God, yeah, this is going to be a bit hard, and there are other milliners already kind of operating in this area or whatever, if you like, and that was a really nice surprise when other girls got in touch and spoke about all these kind of things. It was fabulous. It was really good to know, and it is very much community over competition. And I've been in situations before where I've had a customer in for an order or something, and I've not been able to do it for whatever reason, just I've been too busy or something, and we shared each other's details. I'm like, listen, I'm really sorry I can't do this, but here's a list of other milliners you might want to go to, who I know will be able to certainly do it technically, and you can check with their their time scales and things. So that's been that's really, really lovely that we do kind of put business each other's way when we haven't got the ability to do it for whatever reason. So it's been really lovely. I've been really nicely surprised about that. That was good.
Well, that's good. And it's nice to hear that one of your biggest worries was kind of quashed as soon as you got into it and went, actually, that's fine. And so speaking of worries, so can you tell us a little bit about the sort of things that you were maybe a little bit nervous about, or that held you back a little bit from going off on your own and leaving your full-time career?
Yeah, well, I mean, initially, basically, I had been in that. I worked, it was a technical job I worked in. I worked in, it was GIS, which is Geographical Information Systems. So it's like satellite navigation, digital mapping, spatial statistics, that kind of stuff. And I had worked in that. I'm trying to think, actually, I graduated from university in 2001. So however long that is, what's that, 19 years? I don't know. Is that no? I don't know.
That sounds right.
Yeah. I initially, my degree was actually geography and town planning. That's what I did at university, and I was always a geography fan at school. I loved that, but I didn't want to just do a degree in geography. I thought, what am I going to do with that? I sure as hell don't want to be a geography teacher. And I had found this degree at Strathclyde Uni, which was geography and town planning, and I was always really, really interested, and still am interested in like the built environment and things like that. And I thought, oh, this sounds great. This is perfect. Two ideas married together, and I'm going to really enjoy it. So I did that as my degree, and then maybe in sort of second year university, I very kind of quickly cottoned on to the fact that the town planning side of it was just not for me. It was so dull. I just couldn't go at all. I thought I was going to be able to look at designing all these lovely little landscapes and things and townscapes and whatever, but it was kind of rubber stamping, and these are the rules, and this is how this is what it means, and it just wasn't for me. But I didn't want to stop. my degree, and I thought I'll never start again. So I wanted to continue with it and, you know, kind of go through to the end. So I kind of rehashed some of my classes and took, in terms of the ratio, you know, geography to planning, I took the absolute minimum in planning classes that I could take, and bulked everything up with geography. And one of the geography classes was Geographic Information Systems, which is GIS. That's what I ended up working in. I didn't want to do it, but it was one of the ones that fitted with the timetable, and I thought, fine, let's just do it. And I took that class, and I was awful at it. I was terrible at it. And it was just like, right, fine, it's okay, I've just got to get through it, it's all right, we'll do it. And you know, I finished it, and I did my full 4 years, I graduated my degree, I got a 2-1, it was great and fantastic. And then the first job that I happened to get offered was as a technician within an engineering firm doing GIS. And I thought, oh God, that sounds really bad because I hate GIS so much and I'm not very good at it, but do you know what, let's just do it, and you know, we'll see how it goes. And you touched on this earlier on when we were talking about it, until you actually start to work in something and do that job, it doesn't really fall into place. So I really wasn't keen on GIS, I didn't think that great at it. I just managed to pass really. And then when I started working in this role, it was great. It all just kind of slid into place. I was like, oh, right, that makes sense. That's why you do it. This is how it helps. This is how it helps in the real world. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was great. So I did, you know, I worked for that company for a couple of years. Then I went to work for a local authority, again, working as a GIS technician within the planning department. So I still kind of, you know, had a bit of a planning link there. And I did that for a while. And then I moved on to another company, which it was a road networking company, which was great and I really enjoyed it. But I'd only been there for, I think it was 6 months, and then a job came up in what had always been my dream company to work for. And everybody who had, you know, had worked in that industry had always really, you know, it had been held in quite high standing at that point, this company. And I thought, oh, should I apply for it or not? I've only been with, you know, the company for 6 months. That's not going to look great in my CV and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, oh, great, I'll just apply for it. So I did, and I got the job, which was just like, to me, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And obviously things are a bit rosier on the outside when you're looking into something else. So I got to that company and I started working, and it was fabulous. I really enjoyed it, but it was kind of when you get involved with the nitty gritty and you realise that things aren't, you know, always dead plain, you know, plain sailing. But I loved the job, and I eventually, it was 13 years I ended up working there for, and I moved through into, you know, different positions. And I was really, really lucky. My colleagues were great. It was a good company to work for. And I was one of the few within the company at the time that were sort of dealing with customers. And that was good as well. I had a great relationship with the customers. I was just really, really lucky. And then kind of moved on to different, you know, positions within the company. And I was managing one of the services teams that were sort of dealing with, you know, customer contact and support contracts and things. And again, I was really, really lucky because the team that I had were a great team, you know, hardworking. I didn't have any difficulties as a manager or anything, you know, to worry about. And then the final kind of move was into a sort of, you know, more kind of client side, contract management side of things within the company. And it was okay, it was fine, but it just wasn't, you know, I just didn't get the same buzz as I did from the previous roles within the same company. And, you know, like I kind of said earlier, I'd had 2 kids by this point, and I already had the kind of millinery thing going on in the background as a little thing, and the idea had been forming about, you know, making that move. And that was kind of maybe what, you know, what one of the pushes was, the fact that I wasn't enjoying the job as much, although it was still a great place to work. It really was, you know. So, you know, my worry was, you know, salary. I knew, I mean, I was well paid in a you know, a tech job, and I was, you know, if I left, I knew what I was going to, you know. I knew I was going to have no pension, just all the kind of sensible stuff. I was like, this is kind of crazy, you know. It's nearly sort of 20 years now within this industry, and I've done well, I've proven myself and all that kind of stuff, and to start back at the bottom again is quite scary. But it's, yeah, so the practical things, like I said, it was money. You know, money was the big worry initially, and my husband's business at the time was kind of doing okay, and, you know, we could afford to take a bit of a hit. But then again, you know, with, you know, us being parents, we had the additional cost of, you know, the before and after school care, the childcare for holidays and all this kind of stuff, and actually working out what we would have saved. You know, as soon as I, you know, had agreed to stop the job, that was all just like, you know, kaput, you know, cancelled, so we didn't have those fees and things. So really, you know, it really is quite a saving, you know, and it kind of, again, provided a right, okay, there's another tip, that's a reason to do it. Yes, it's going to be less money, but we're going to be able to deal with this a lot easier. It's going to be more flexible, you know, for looking after the kids and things. So that was, you know, the kind of practical, sensible mum stuff to worry about. And then, like we've discussed earlier, the support network. Like, you know, I'm so used to having like a team of really really excellent technical guys working, who could solve anything like that. You know, any problem that came up. It was a quick, you know, kind of 5 minute tap on the shoulder, and somebody like, yeah, change this, do that, whatever. And yeah, it was great. You were never stuck for long. You know, it was really good. And to go from that to working on your own in something that you're still pretty new at, and you being the only person putting yourself out there saying, hi, this is me, this is what I make, I can do this for you, and then being terrified that actually maybe you couldn't deliver, you know, that kind of a thing. So that was you know, they were the kind of two main fears that I had initially, was the sort of sensible, practical, financial stuff, and the kind of support network. That was the big problem. But you know, there were a few other things that have come to light, you know, since then, that I didn't really think about at the time, that might be a problem. I have two daughters. They're now 8 and 6, and I essentially I was, you know, technically a woman working in STEM, you know, so science, technology, education and maths, and that's the thing that's always really pushed. And, you know, girls don't work in this, and it's something that girls should be able to do, and they should be able to, you know, succeed in and things. And here was me leaving what technically was a job in STEM to go away and make pretty hats, you know. And I just felt like, oh, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. But it wasn't that, like I said, that wasn't a fear that hit me until, you know, my kids, you know, started, you know, again, even, you know, a few years into it, making a couple of comments, you know, they saw daddy heading out to work in the morning, you know, coming back in late, but I was always in the house. Didn't matter that I was in my own little studio locked away working during the day. They saw me at the start of the day when I took them to nursery or school or whatever, and I picked them up, and that was that. And then there was, you know, a couple of times when you're having chat or whatever, you know, over dinner and stuff, and like daddy's day at work and things, and then it was like, yeah, but mummy doesn't work, so that's okay. And I remember the first time my daughter said it, and honestly, I was completely floored. I just thought, oh my God, that's what she thinks. She thinks I don't work, you know. I was like, well, you know, try to explain it, trying to sort of keep my anger / emotion down when I was trying to say to her. I was like, that's not true, mummy does work. That's mum, and it's in the house, that's mummy's job in there, that's mummy's office, and she sits and makes hats, and, you know, if she doesn't make hats and she doesn't get customers to buy them, then we don't get paid for that. That's what mummy's job is. Oh, okay, you know, but it wasn't kind of, I didn't think it was going in there, you know. So that was a real big disappointment for me within the first kind of couple of years. I thought, oh God, like, you know, it's worked well for me, it seems to be going okay. But then I thought, this, you know, the perception of my two young kids looking at their mum, and you know, both of my parents had always worked, you know, they went out to work, and that was that. And then I thought, not that there's anything wrong with, you know, one of the parents not working, you know, a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mum or whatever, but I thought, I don't want them to not appreciate that this is a proper job, and I'm actually running a business here, you know, in the background, and it's hard work, you know. And then I thought, oh my God, again, it's the women in STEM thing. I've left what was a proper job in people's eyes, you know, and I've done the handbrake turn into the car park at the nursery at 6 o'clock to try and get them, you know, done all that, you know, but that kind of disappeared. They were very young, they don't remember that, you know. So there was always a kind of bit of me that thinks, have I done wrong by then, you know, having a, you know, a different role model, like that isn't somebody that's going out to work in an office, but actually it's somebody that's running their own business from the front room, but the kids don't quite understand that. And then that really kind of got me down for a while, you know. And then as the years have gone on and the kids got a wee bit older, it's quite good because they see it now. They recognise now that, you know, I'm kind of doing that. They know I've got a website. They've looked at my website and all that, and they're like, oh yeah, right, okay, maybe mum does have a proper job, you know. So that's, you know, that's it's kind of eased my mind a little bit. And I think, you know, as the girls get older, assuming my business survives through this horrible year, fingers crossed, then, you know, they'll see a wee bit more of that as, you know, as as things get on and they kind of understand it a wee bit more. Again, they're starting to see it now because, you know, a lot of my business is at the weekend, you know, when customers come in and things, and, you know, they've got all their dancing clubs and whatever and all that kind of stuff, and it interferes with that. So 9 times out of 10, it's like, you know,